Hi, I'm Autumn Wilson. Today I'll be talking about inequality in the funding of the public school system. So I'll start by giving a brief history and a brief discussion of the actual problem, just to give a refresher of the last time I spoke. Then I'll go more into why we should address the problem of inequality in the funding of the public school system, some concerns with addressing this problem, and some possible solutions for those, and then some possible solutions for the overall problem and the best solution presented. So let's get started. So brief history, public schools were founded just to make sure everybody was on the same playing field and overall increase the education in America. However, they started off unequal by being only for the wealthy, and then it was for everybody, but they were segregated, and now we're having problems with lower income schools not having as many funds and as many opportunities as higher income schools. So what is the actual problem? Well, schools are funded by the state and the local government, local being a little weirder because a lot of times lines are drawn to where school districts have one area that's all lower income and one area that's all higher income, and the higher income school has more opportunities than the lower income school. So that's the real problem in itself. So why should we address this problem? Why is this a concern? Well, lower income schools have a less quality education in general. They don't have the materials that they need. They don't have smart boards, iPads, textbooks, things that higher income students a lot of times get. They have larger class sizes, which means less individualized learning. They have inability to keep up with their schools and maintain them. And they have less quality teachers because a lot of times teachers come there, they get their experience, and then they leave and they go to a school that's able to pay them more for the amount of education and experience they have. So lower income students never really get the opportunity to learn like a higher income student really gets. As said by the National Report Card, low rankings on school funding fairness correlate to poor state performance on key indicators of essential education resources, including access to early childhood education, non-competitive wages for teachers, and higher teacher-to-pupil ratios. So that just kind of verifies that argument. Also, some states don't even use all their funding for schooling. They use it elsewhere, which is definitely a no-no. And then some states use too much funding, which makes it a national problem because in the Commonwealth area, which includes Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Virginia, they use $3,400 more per student, so that means it's nationally unequal, which is also a problem. So, but if we even this all out and we make it fair, it helps by upping the production and the economy because we're giving teachers the wages they deserve for the amount of education and experience they have and giving more people jobs. It educates our youth, which brings more innovations in the future, and which later brings money in the economy by making us more educated and catching us up in the race that we are currently behind in literacy rates. And maybe one day we could invent the cure for cancer. So that might be held in a student that's in a lower income school that doesn't really get the same opportunities. So what are concerns with addressing this problem? Well, one concern is that money doesn't actually correlate to how students perform or how schools perform. This has actually been recently disproven. That's not true. They did a study and it said that funds directly correlate to how students do. And most of the funding comes from the state and the local level. Actually, only 9% comes from the federal level, while 56% comes from the state level and 35% comes from the local level, which just shows how much they impact the school systems. Another concern is that redistricting could possibly be traumatic to kids by changing their peer group and possibly the location of their schools, which this is a very worthy concern, but I'm sure that precautions will be taken in redrawing the lines in order to ensure that it is not a traumatic experience for any child involved. Otherwise, I think it is better for the education of that child and every other child in the future to come through and just better the education of them in every generation thereafter. So I think it should still be done anyway. So what are the possible solutions? Well, one possible solution is to do funding based on school performance, which is definitely a bad idea because, as said previously, schools that are higher income are already performing better than lower income schools because they have more funding to perform better. So they would just continue what they're doing, continue to get the funding, while lower income schools would never have the opportunity to catch up. So that's definitely not a good solution. On the other hand, Nicky Morgan in Britain presented an idea that was very good. In the Britain equivalent to states, the Britain equivalent to states would give out money to school systems based on that school system's needs. So a higher income school system would not get as much money from the quote-unquote state than a lower income school system, so it kind of even out the distribution of money. Another possible solution is redistricting, which would redraw lines in each district to make sure that wealth is evenly distributed and each school is getting the same amount of funds. And I think the best solution is to do a combination of Nicky Morgan's idea and redistricting by having the state give out funds to those lower income schools, but redistricting to make sure it's as even as possible so we can really have an idea who really needs money in certain areas and other areas who doesn't really need money. So I think that's the perfect solution overall. So to end it, or in conclusion, the public school system was really founded with good intentions of helping us up our production, up our innovation, and educating our youth, and we can't do that while it's still unequal. So in order to do that, we need to look at it, and we need to get the redistricting done, and we need to get the state involved so that we can start making it even for everybody and up America's literacy rates and childhood education and innovation, and just help us in the future. So thanks for listening.